Remember when you could order something online and it would be there the next day? Remember when there were more people looking for jobs than there were job openings? Those things were all the result of efficient markets, supply and demand being in balance. But today, markets are out of whack. In just about every market, you're seeing a ton of demand and supply that just isn't able to meet it. I wanted to understand why this is still happening, more than 2 years after the pandemic caused mass shutdowns. So I spoke to some economists and researchers. It turns out that COVID didn't change the economy. It pushed forward and exacerbated a lot of issues that were already there. What could this mean? I'll explain. As we know, markets function because when demand rises, prices rise, and that motivates producers to increase supply. But the supply hasn't shown up. The auto market is a great example. Because new car production has slowed so much, Americans looking to replace their vehicle are shelling out more for some used car models than brand new ones. But at least with cars, you've got a used market to buy from. With some other products like diapers, baby formula, and toilet paper, customers have just had to go without them or wait. I spoke with Aaron Parrott, a managing director at consulting firm Deloitte. He told me that businesses aren't investing in supply for a lot of products right now because they don't believe demand will be long-term and sustainable. If it takes more than a year to build out the capacity, Parrott tells me that companies would rather miss out on the potential windfall because they don't want to take the risk. Retailers like Target and Walmart learned this the hard way recently, disclosing to investors that they had to mark down billions of dollars in merchandise because tastes had changed. And Garvin J. Bush, Chief Investment Officer for Green Alpha Advisors, says there's another problem. He says companies were simply caught flat-footed. For years before the pandemic, they were too focused on short-term profit goals and didn't invest sufficiently in emerging trends or research and development. He points to data that show in the years leading up to 2020, US companies spent more money buying back their own stock and paying dividends to investors than they did on R&D. Similar issues plague the US labor market. We're seeing almost 2 job postings for every unemployed person in the country. That ratio had never even hit 1-to-1 in the years before 2018. Much of this has to do with what ADP chief economist Neela Richardson calls a mismatched economy, where there are lots of available workers, but few with the skills companies are looking for. Richardson says that because interest rates were so low for so long, and companies could see their stock prices rise without having to invest much in hiring workers or training them, many got complacent. Now companies are looking to hire lots more workers to help them transition to the economy of the future, and finding that getting employees with the skills they want is a tough task. The pandemic also caused many Americans to rethink their work arrangements because of health worries and the rising cost of care. The combination of health and economic concerns, the skills mismatch, and early retirements have driven the percentage of Americans in the labor force to the lowest since the 1970s, even with nominal wages rising at the fastest pace in years. The big picture is that COVID made companies deal with issues that many thought were far off in the future, today. And even though stock prices have fallen this year, most large firms are still flush with cash and seem reluctant to rock the boat. And the government hasn't been able to step in to fill the void, so the void is just there. The current environment is leaving a lot of consumers without solutions and a lot of businesses without workers. But it does seem like the tide is starting to turn. ADP's Neela Richardson also told me that we're entering a new economic phase. It's not recession or recovery, it's creation. In August, the US finally had as many Americans working as the country did in February 2020. So the economy can now create new jobs instead of just filling jobs that were lost during the pandemic. And the creation economy could be a very good thing. Rapper Denzel Curry has some great advice. He says, "Pile up hella stacks when the bills pile up. Dollar, it's the only way to get the style up." That's all for now. See you next time.